Have you ever been in the store and stumbled upon something that you really love, but you thought the price was just way too much, and so you decided to create it yourself and ended up spending more than you would have if you just purchased the thing to begin with? So I have a little houseplant project today. I haven't done any houseplant videos on my channel yet, and that's primarily because my houseplants are constantly basically in rehab because I am not the best houseplant dad. I love a lot of houseplants, but the house stays pretty dry, and since, as you know, if you followed my channel for long, I tend to have a problem with overwatering, and so the first couple years I had houseplants, I had a real big issue with fungus gnats. And since that time, I've cut watering down significantly. So my houseplants just kind of limp along from time to time as they get watered. So what I'm wanting to do today is I went to a grocery store during Christmas, and they had a really beautiful ivy on a round obelisk, and they wanted $60 for it, and it was in a really tiny container. And so I was like, I'm not paying that for it. I think they have actually reduced the price since the holidays and cut it in half. So if I'd have waited, I probably could have purchased this, but it was a good opportunity to try something new out that I've never done before. And so I just have a terracotta pot, which I got locally. That's the inexpensive part. And I picked these up as well, which are also fairly inexpensive. So I'm going to be using the largest one today. These were $10 to $15. I'll put a link from them below. And they're really nice, like powder coated iron. And so they're really sturdy trellises. They're not going to bend, or they're not flimsy at all. And so there's two different sizes. I've got the small one and the large one here. I'm going to be using the largest one today, and then I can use the smaller one in a different project another day. And so what I'm going to be doing is taking a piece of this ivy, which I picked up this plant online from Etsy actually, but I want to put a link to the Etsy shop I got this from below because it is amazing for the price. I think I paid around $20, $25 for this entire container of ivy, and this is going to be what I call my mother plant. I keep a lot of mother plants in my basement that I take cuttings or take little small parts of and allow them to regenerate. So I do my lemon coral sedum for improving winters. That way I keep one in the basement over winter in a large container, and then if I need any, or if I have any issues with the overwintering in spring and I want to put some in containers, I just snip some off and root it to put in those containers in the spring. So this ivy is going to be my mother plant, and it looked a lot better when I got it. It's a little dried out right now because I've been letting it dry out for this project, and I let it dry out a little too much. As I mentioned, that's just kind of the way my houseplants go these days. And then I also picked up this beautiful Staghorn Fern from the same Etsy shop, and I'm going to be planting it in this container that I have right here. And so I'm going to do a time lapse of this because I've never done anything like this on video, and so you can just see the process as I work and follow along, and I'll let you know if I have any tips. So I did purchase some zip ties, and I'm going to use the zip ties to tie the ivy to this trellis initially, and then as it grows I'll keep it trimmed up into the perfect little circle that I've seen elsewhere. So let's get started. I am going to add a little bit of my Osmocote that I add to all my indoor houseplants and my outside potted containers just to give this ivy a little fertilizer. And I'm also going to add some of my mosquito bits that I like to add to help control fungus gnats, because I do not want fungus gnats coming out of the soil that I just purchased from the store. I don't typically have a lot of problems with that, but sometimes you'll get soil and bring it into your house, and then you'll have a fungus gnat issue because there was larvae in the soil, and then when it gets wet you have a whole mess. So I want to take a section of this ivy. I may have to go grab me a tool right quick because I do want to leave a lot of it, but I need to take a section that's already got some pretty long tendrils like these right here. So I'll probably take this small quarter of it to put in this pot, leave the rest to regenerate and add some more soil, and then I can do another project like this elsewhere. So I'm going to grab a tool right quick. I don't have any great tools in my basement, so I'm just going to use my hands here and get it done as easily and as gentle as I can so to not damage this ivy. I actually may not need such a large piece. This ivy will regenerate fairly quickly, I think, so I'm just going to take about that much right there, and that will give me a good starting point and enough room that I'm not starting out with a big plant that will take over. I'll actually take a little more here to fill out the bottom. go ahead and stick my trellis in here that I can tie it on. This is going to fit really nicely in here, and then I'm just going to fill the rest up with soil. I'm very, very messy in the basement, and so I keep a shop vac down here because doing tasks like this, it's one of the reasons I don't like to do a lot in the winter as far as seed starting in my garden in the basement, just because it's such a mess. But since I added a sink down here, it's much easier to clean up, and so I'm not as concerned about that now. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting really panicky because I'm seeing a lot of gardeners start seeds early that are around my zone or lower than me, zones 5, and it's a bit early to start a lot of things. But I'm going to start my peppers this coming week, and I'll bring you along for that. And what I wanted to ask y'all is if you would like me to do a YouTube live as I do some seed starting. I've never done a YouTube live, and I thought I might bring you along as I start some seeds this coming week. So if y'all would like for me to do a YouTube live, so as far as starting, they'll probably be my peppers or annual flower seeds, and it'll just be a time for you to ask questions if you like. And just to get to know me. So if you want me to do a YouTube live, let me know below. And what times you think would be best. It would have to be evenings, of course. But if you have a particular time during the week that you like to watch YouTube or that's interesting to you, or if we should do a weekend, next weekend would probably be also good. I don't think that'll be too late to start some of my annual flower seeds. So I'm just going to put a couple zip ties here and there along this plant, and I also want it to spill out a little bit, so I'm not looking to wrap all of this ivy on this trellis here, but I do want to wrap quite a bit of it, because as this continues to grow, it'll look quite nice, I think. And I may not actually need that many zip ties. I've only got one up here at the top to hold a big portion of it. I think I can get away with wrapping the rest of this around here. And I'll just move some of this other ivy to even it out. And I'll actually end up trimming this off and probably re-rooting it. I can stick it around. Ivy roots, I don't know if you can see it here in the video, but it roots along the stem, so you can see the little roots here. So if I lay this in the container here, it will slowly root for me. And I'm going to give this a nice big drink after we're done, and I will put it in my house for decoration. So I think that's cute. I've never done a project like this before, so it doesn't look too bad. I will give it a little bit of water, as I mentioned, and as it continues to grow, we'll have a little more spilling over. I don't want to do too much spilling yet because it will probably grow fairly quickly. So I'm going to leave it as is for now, and that looks pretty cute, I think. Good job, Matthew. Since I've not done one of these projects before, I didn't know how it would turn out. And so the other project that I want to show you, this is not really a project, it's just potting up this Staghorn Fern. So I've wanted a Staghorn Fern for a really long time, and they can be super expensive. They're beautiful, really beautiful plants, and they like a lot of moisture, and you'll see them a lot tied to like a wood piece and hung on the wall. I think that would be a watering nightmare for me, so I'm not doing that. But I got this container from Etsy as well, and I actually ordered a larger one, and they just got back in stock. So if you're interested in this, I think it's really beautiful because it's a concrete terracotta type mix, and I really like it because it's already aged looking. And so I'm going to add some potting soil to this and do the same thing I did over there. It's really difficult, and what a lot of gardeners strive for actually is this aged look on the pot. And so these are not pots that I would leave outside in my zone, just because I am really scared about terracotta, even though I think this is a mix, breaking over winter if it gets too wet. And so even though I have a larger one, I may put it out on the patio during summer, but I'll put a container or a plant in it that I can bring in for winter. So we're going to add a little more Osmocote to this as well. So I was really impressed with this Etsy shop and the plant selection. They don't have a huge selection, but the plants that you get for the price you pay is really, really incredible. And so I really commend the shop, and certainly check it out below if you're interested in some really great plants. And so I'm going to let this fern sit down a little bit in this container. I need a little more soil, and it's also really dry, and so I need to add a little more water to it. And I'm just using a potting mix, an indoor potting mix for this. I could also mix my own soil from my peat moss and cocoa coir I have, but I didn't want to have to do that for this project, and I wanted something really simple. And so I just purchased a small bag of indoor potting mix to have on hand to repot some houseplants. If you hear any whining, it's from my little Springer Spaniels upstairs. I have to put them in their crate because they're directly above me, and they want to play right now, and so there may be a little dog whining in the background. If so, I apologize. So you'll see a lot of gardeners add decorative rocks or sand on top of their houseplants as well, just to keep the fungus gnats at bay. I have really fell in love with using 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, which is a expanded clay aggregate ball, and they look similar to this right here. They are basically just clay that's been expanded into a little ball, and I think it looks very earthy, and I add that on all of my houseplant containers. I think it helps a little bit with the fungus gnats, but it also adds a nice earthy tone to the top of the planter, and so you're just not seeing soil around there. So I'm going to stick some of this 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, L-E-C-A is how it's spelled, and I'll put a link below where I got mine. I do buy mine in bulk. You can get smaller containers or bags of it, but I buy 50 pounds at a time because I use it on a lot of houseplants, and I also grow some houseplants in there. I'm not going to promise to be a 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 expert because I've just started doing this within the past year, but I found it's been really nice to help retain a little moisture in my soil. It seems to deter some fungus gnats. I've not had really any issues on any plants that I've put this on as far as fungus gnats. And so 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 is a expanded clay, and you can actually grow, as I mentioned, plants directly in it. So I have a monstera upstairs that I have grown completely in 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, and I have found that it's really just dependent on the plant as to what you can grow in 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲. The monstera does really good. I potted another plant in it before and it didn't do really well. Pothos also tend to do really well. And so I am done with this project. This is what it ended up looking like. I think these are really cute. I really love this container. This container, I will put the Etsy shop below, or I may just link the direct website. The website's called Rustic Reach, and they have really interesting decorations and containers that you can purchase. Now, they're not the most inexpensive thing, but for the distressed look that you get on this terracotta, I think it's a really great price, and I've never seen anything like it online. But if you have great recommendations as to where to find containers online, I go to TJ Maxx Home Goods in the spring a lot and find a lot of ceramic type containers. I don't love them as much. They tend to be really heavy, and of course I don't feel comfortable leaving those things outside. So I'm always looking for something with a little bit of concrete. But for indoors, TJ Maxx is a really good option, Home Goods, if you've never been there in the spring to look for containers. So if you would like me to do a live seed starting video, comment below, comment some times that are best for you. And if I have enough interest, I'll do one. If not, we'll continue doing seed starting like I have been on my regular videos, and I'll bring you along for that. I hope you are getting started on your seeds. I'm looking forward to spraying so much here soon. And remember, in a world full of hate, be a light. Take care, everyone. Bye.